All right, all right, all right, all right. Alrighty, welcome back to the Coach's Corner podcast. Here today, we're going to talk about the NFL. Season opener is getting ready to kick off tomorrow against the Denver Broncos and the Carolina Panthers in Denver in a Super Bowl 50 rematch between the Carolina Panthers and Denver. Von Miller versus Cam Newton. We get to see it once again. This is the first time that actually Cam Newton has traveled to the Mile High City to play the Denver Broncos. Each time that the Denver Broncos and the Panthers have met since 2011, you've had Von Miller and the Broncos going up to Carolina the one year and beating them 35-14, and then you had them traveling to San Francisco to beat them in the Super Bowl. This is the first game in a long time where Carolina travels to Denver, so it's going to be a different element. Obviously, a lot has changed since Super Bowl 50, okay? And when we look at the Carolina Panthers on offense and defense, not much has changed. They've lost a couple of guys, okay? But the thing is they've still got that great defense, minus Josh Norman, minus some very lackluster defensive backs. We'll talk about San Diego later. Hold on one second. Let me get to where I'm talking. We're live on Periscope. We're live on iHeartRadio. And we're live on iTunes right now and Twitter. Be sure to tune in right now. We're live, so I will read your stuff on air. But let me get to my point real quick, okay? Carolina Panthers. Not much has changed with them, okay? They lost Josh Norman. Okay. They get Kelvin Benjamin back on offense. All right, that'll be interesting because the one thing I've been hearing all offseason is that the Denver Broncos didn't face Kelvin Benjamin, okay? And Kelvin Benjamin is a great wide receiver. He stood out a lot on Carolina the last couple of years because he was the only guy that could make catches for Cam Newton, the guy that would actually catch the dang ball for once. And when we look back to when they played the Seattle Seahawks in the divisional round a couple years ago, Kelvin Benjamin was the only guy that Cam Newton threw to. Okay, and when you lock into one guy, you're not going to be very productive. That's why Carolina wasn't that good. So this year, when Kelvin Benjamin had to miss with a torn ACL, torn it during training camp last year, what happened was, and we saw it, Cam Newton had to distribute the ball a little bit to everybody. He had to throw it to Ted Ginn Jr., Devin Funchess, and Hamilton Porter here on Periscope tells me that Broncos corners would still have him on lock, and I absolutely agree. You know, Kelvin Benjamin's a phenomenal receiver, but I'm telling you, this Denver defense has faced the best receivers. They've faced the best tight ends. They've faced Rob Gronkowski, okay? They've faced Julian Edelman. They bracket covered Julian Edelman and Rob Gronkowski. They never played really any zone coverage. They manned up on him. Denver's got a good game plan. Wade Phillips as a defensive coordinator for the Denver Broncos has been a great move for Denver because Wade Phillips, what he did, what Jack Del Rio failed to do when Jack Del Rio was defensive coordinator for the Broncos, he utilized the talent that he had. He played to the strengths of his players, and that's exactly what he did. You got Von Miller now rushing the quarterback and occasionally dropping into a zone for coverage. When you had Jack Del Rio, you had Von Miller covering a slot receiver or a tight end one-on-one. Okay, and it didn't work out too well. You didn't play to the strengths because you'd only rush three guys under Jack Del Rio's system, and then you'd expect that your cover corners could cover for at least 10 seconds when there wasn't a visible pass rush. And that's why Denver got pounded by the Colts a couple of years back. That's why Denver got pounded against the Seattle Seahawks in the Super Bowl. Okay, Wade Phillips brought a defensive system that plays to the strength of his players, and we saw it in Super Bowl 50. He rushed the quarterback. Von Miller got to Cam Newton. The receivers were blanketed. They were covered by Chris Harris Jr., Aqib Talib, Bradley Roby, Darian Stewart, T.J. Ward, a healthy Denver defense. And the result spoke for itself. They dominated the entire game of Super Bowl 50. Okay, so that's one thing that's got me going here. Okay, it's only Wednesday. I'm jacked up. Tomorrow's kickoff. We finally got the NFL regular season back a few weeks ago. Okay, it's been a while since I've been on the show. Okay, I've been coaching high school ball. I've been preparing for the season. Wade Phillips is a genius. I absolutely agree. Wade Phillips is one of the biggest geniuses out there defensive minded. You know, he may not have been a great head coach for the Texans, but I think he's a great defensive coordinator because he knows how to work with a group of guys on defense rather than having to micromanage offense, defense, and special teams as well. Okay, so on today's show, I kind of jumped ahead a little bit, but on today's show, we're going to talk about the Dallas Cowboys, okay? Currently, with the Dallas Cowboys, I laugh every time because some of my high school players are Cowboys fans. I deal with a lot of Cowboys fans on Twitter across the social media spectrum, okay? And I tell you what, they're the most delusional people on this earth, Cowboys fans are. They're so delusional, and I'll get to that in a second. Okay, we're going to talk about the Cowboys without Tony Romo. Cowboys just signed Mark Sanchez to a contract after he was released by the Denver Broncos. Jerry Jones is a mastermind, apparently. Tony Romo's out 6 to 10 weeks with a broken collarbone. Okay, a broken collarbone. 6 to 10 weeks. Dak Prescott, a quarterback who's jumped in for a little bit in preseason and has shined. He's played pretty spectacular in the preseason, throwing to Dez Bryant. They have something potentially right there, okay? And I'm a firm believer, if Dak Prescott plays the way he did in preseason throughout the entire regular season while Tony Romo is out, I really don't see how Jerry Jones should, or Jason Garrett, for example, should go with Tony Romo, okay? And this is the title of this week's podcast, okay? Tony Romo is to health what Lindsay Lohan is to proving that fame is healthy for a person, okay? It's just not. Tony Romo is awful, okay? And you know what? Everyone wants to refer to his passer rating or his late game heroics, okay? But when we look at it, Tony Romo's late game heroics usually ends in a pick. He's a hero for the other team. Okay, I don't know how many primetime games I've watched where the Cowboys literally throw a pick within the last 2 minutes of the game or in the fourth quarter when they're down, they're trailing. The only guy that I think's really ever saved them was their kicker. And there have been times where the kickers missed the field goal too. Okay, but I'm trying to say this. Dallas Cowboys have been irrelevant since 1996, okay? The Dallas Cowboys have not been America's team for that long, all right? Maybe back in the day when they had Michael Irvin, all those guys, okay, when they won back-to-back Super Bowls. But listen to this. What have the Cowboys done in the 2000s? Okay, yeah, they made the playoffs the 1 year with Tony Romo. I remember the dramatic Tony Romo being the holder for the field goal that would have won them the game. He fumbled the snap on the field goal hold, and they lost the game to Seattle. I remember that clear as day. I don't know if many of you guys do, but that was the only time that I can really think where the Cowboys have been relevant, where they were good and they were competing. Okay, now when I look at the Cowboys in recent history, recent years, okay, and I say this with a fiery passion because Cowboys fans drive me insane, okay? And the thing, and I'm going to tell you this, is that they made the playoffs a couple years, right? They lose in the first round. They win the division by default a couple of years, okay? But they don't do it. And Dez Bryant has the drop, okay? Everyone said Dez caught it. Dez didn't catch it, okay? Look up what a damn NFL catch is. Even though I don't even know anymore what a damn catch is in the NFL, that's what I'm talking about, though, okay? So when we look at all those aspects and those elements that play a big picture in what we're talking about, okay, and this is to all of the Cowboys fans listening. This is to my players that I constantly have to get into little debates with every single morning and evening at football practice. The Cowboys are not relevant. They're not that good, and they won't be for a while. They might have a chance with Dak Prescott, but look, they got suspended guys on defense. They got guys with drug problems. You got an owner who doesn't know what the hell he's doing. Jerry Jones is the most delusional guy in all of professional sports. He's like Al Davis 2.0, all right? The Cowboys are not going to be a great organization until Jerry Jones steps down or eventually dies. And I hate to say that. That sounds harsh. But it's the truth, okay? So we're going to talk about the Cowboys. We're going to talk about the NFC East in just a second, all right? But also, in other news, in wake of Sam Bradford's terrible injury that he suffered at practice, not Sam Bradford, Teddy Bridgewater, his injury that he suffered back at practice a week and a half ago, where his knee dislocated and he tore his ACL, had no other structural damage. The thing is with that is that he's going to be out for the rest of the year. Okay, we already know that. Now, the Philadelphia Eagles have traded Sam Bradford to the Minnesota Vikings, where he reunites with Adrian Peterson and connects with a young receiving core in Stephon Diggs, Kyle Rudolph at tight end. The thing is, and a great defense, a great young defense that the Minnesota Vikings have. Okay, so they have a lot of potential there, and I'll get to that in a second. But Sam Bradford to the Vikings. Sam Bradford had a sample size year where he was the guy, and he did pretty good at times in St. Louis, now L.A. Tore his ACL. Okay, struggled. Came back last year, played for the Eagles, got hurt, and now he's in Minnesota. Okay, and the thing that I want to really point out is that the sample size for Sam Bradford is not that big. Kind of like what it is with Brock Osweiler, for example. Okay, with Brock Osweiler only played 7 damn games for the Denver Broncos and got a $73 million contract from the Houston Texans. Okay, so they look at kind of what they saw in 7 games compared to what they haven't seen yet. Okay, 7 games is too low of a sample size to know what you're going to get out of a quarterback. So, with that, I like to say Bradford to the Vikings, okay? So that leaves Carson Wentz, the Eagles' first-round draft pick, as their starting quarterback. They named it if he's healthy, because he suffered a rib injury in the preseason because they don't have an offensive line. They have nobody to freaking block for him. He got hurt, I think, on the 3rd play of the dang game. So when that happens, okay, now you got to look at guys like Chase Daniel, who used to be a backup quarterback of the Kansas City Chiefs under Doug Peterson. He's pissed off because he's not starting. After they traded Bradford away, they made the announcement that it was going to be Carson Wentz who was going to start, okay, and not Chase Daniel, an NFL veteran. And so when we look at all these aspects, okay, we got to factor in from a player's standpoint. I've been putting in all this damn work all offseason. I come over with Coach Peterson in the offseason. I get a lot of reps when Bradford holds out and he throws his fit over not getting his money. Then we draft a quarterback. Sam Bradford acts like he's going to quit the team or not show up because they drafted a quarterback in the 1st round. They had the 1st pick and they drafted him. Then Chase Daniel, who's been working during the preseason. Carson Wentz has been hurt. Okay, he's been hurt. What have we seen from Carson Wentz yet outside of his college career? Last year in college he was hurt for a certain amount of games. They come here, so now the Philadelphia Eagles has a brand new identity. They're reestablished. They've got a lot of different pieces there. Okay, they re-signed defense. They re-signed Fletcher Cox on their defense. Okay, but guess what? They got 10 other guys on that defense outside of their safety, Terrence Mitchell, who still has a lot of improving to do. They don't have a complete team yet, and I think they're going to be the bottom team in the NFC East. And I think you're going to have the Redskins, who are going to be a little more improved this year. Kirk Cousins will be solid if he stays healthy. They got Jordan Reed. If he can stay healthy, they have a threat there. And they got some guys on defense. Obviously, losing Junior Gillette is going to hurt the Redskins in a way. But I think the division comes down between, sadly enough, and I don't like to say this, I think it's going to be between Dallas and New York. And I like to say that New York's going to get that division. Because really, I mean, this is just right now. Okay, games still have to be played. I understand that. But New York wins this division because they get Victor Cruz back. They got a young rookie in Sterling Shepard who's going to draw mismatches away from guys. And also you still have Odell Beckham Jr., who I still think is not the best wide receiver in the league. I think he's overrated still. But you go from having guys, you're going to have guys double team and try to bracket coverage Odell Beckham Jr., okay, because he always has some kind of spectacular catch in one game or another. Okay, when you bracket and you double cover Odell Beckham Jr., what you leave open to, okay, so now you got guys like Victor Cruz, who's returning, hasn't played in the NFL in a couple years due to a severe injury. He's back. You got a guy like Sterling Shepard you drafted. He's going to come out and play a major role, okay? So now Eli Manning's got guys he can throw the ball to in Ben McAdoo's system, which I think plays great. I think that's great for Eli Manning because in Ben McAdoo's system, so far what we've seen the best Eli Manning in Ben McAdoo's system than we've seen since Eli took the Giants to the Super Bowl, okay? And so that's my firm opinion on that. He's got pieces there, okay? I think defensively, I think the Giants still have a lot of improving to do, but I think they're going to be better off defensively right now than the Cowboys are. Cowboys are missing guys. Obviously, their draft pick, Randy Gregory, his suspension, he appealed it, but he'd still be facing a further and a longer suspension due to a potential substance violation for performance-enhancing drugs. Okay, and I'm trying to rack my head on why. Every time I turn on the news or I turn on ESPN or I check my phone, I get a SportsCenter update talking about the damn Cowboys. What's next? And then you got Ezekiel Elliott. He just got cleared in his domestic violence suit. Okay, he's still kind of questionable. Everyone's kind of questioning why he was at a marijuana dispensary shop in Seattle during their preseason game. Questionable thing right there. Okay, a lot of this stuff, I just don't know. I look at Jerry Jones and I think Jerry Jones enables these athletes on his team because you know what? He set a precedent when he signed Greg Hardy last year. He set a precedent saying, you know what? Guys may have some baggage, but we're going to take him. Look at what happened with Greg Hardy. Greg Hardy came out. They signed him last year. They signed Greg Hardy. Okay, he was suspended a couple games. He came out and he played, and then he was the guy throwing a damn tantrum, hitting a clipboard out of a coach's hand after a special teams kick return for a touchdown that they gave up. He had a clipboard out of a coach's hand, getting into arguments with his own players. Okay, and then the photos come out of what he did to his girlfriend, or his ex-girlfriend at the time, the physical abuse. She released the photos, the bruises, the marks, and the beatings that she suffered at the hands of this man, and they still had the audacity to let him play. They didn't suspend him. Okay, they didn't suspend him at all, and those photos were horrifying. Okay, I don't have to remind you guys. If you saw it, you would kind of, it really upset you. Well, I mean, maybe. I mean, it really upset me, because that's a frustrating thing. I mean, I saw that, and I was like, why is this guy playing? Okay, so we get a guy like that who still gets to play, make money in the NFL, acts the way he does, carries off. In the offseason, did this whole thing with Adam Schefter, which was an absolute disaster about what he did. And he wasn't sorry about what he did, and that's what I was really blown away by when he did that special report, kind of special interview with Adam Schefter. It didn't help his chances, so he didn't get signed back with the Cowboys. Obviously, he's a free agent right now, but my point is, Jerry Jones is so delusional that he'll let a guy like that stay on his team. Okay, and you got a bunch of guys on your defense that are suspended for various reasons. Tony Romo, your quarterback, he's out 6 to 10 weeks. And in history, when we've looked at it, Tony Romo hasn't won the Dallas Cowboys games a lot. A lot of times it was their offensive line, their running game, that would do it. Tony Romo would get the team sometimes into field position to kick a field goal. Sometimes the field goal kicker would miss. Okay, and then sometimes Tony Romo, well, actually not sometimes, most of the time, let's say 8 times out of 10, he would throw a pick in the fourth quarter in a game where they're trailing. Or he'd throw a pick when they're ahead in the fourth quarter to give the Giants, or to give whoever they play. It's mainly the Giants or the Eagles or a divisional opponent that they end up playing on a primetime game on a Sunday night or a Monday night or a Thursday night. And we saw that. Okay, we saw that so many times. Okay, so I'm over the Dallas Cowboys. I really am. I'm kind of sick of them. So now let's kind of I'm going to take a break here in just a second. We're going to go to commercial break. I'm going to pause it. And then when I think about it, I just think that America, the media, especially ESPN, they need to lose their emphasis on the Dallas Cowboys being considered America's team, because they're not. If I had to say anybody's America's team, I'd probably say, how do we define America's team? Do we define it by the team that's had the most success in the last 5 years? When I look at that team is either A, the New England Patriots, or B, the Denver Broncos, with the win record that they've had ever since they've had Peyton Manning. They've become America's team, or the Patriots have, okay? And now you got the Patriots, who are going to be without Tom Brady for the first 4 games of the regular season. You got a guy like Jimmy Garoppolo in there starting for the Patriots, okay? And you got off-season additions in Martellus Bennett, and then you've got Rob Gronkowski. Obviously, you got a new addition, a good receiver out of Buffalo, and Chris Hogan. You got Julian Edelman. You got Danny Amendola. You were supposed to have Dion Lewis back, but he had a complication in his knee. Ended up having to get surgery once again, and he's out for a little bit. He's out indefinitely for God knows how long. He had to go in and have something fixed, a scope, or he had to have his ACL repaired again. Maybe as a guy who had ACL surgery, maybe his graft for his ACL didn't hold up. And so there's a lot of different factors there. But I'm telling you this, the reign of the Dallas Cowboys being America's team, it's over. It's done. Stick a fork in them. They're out of here. Okay? So when we return from commercial break, we're going to answer some questions live here on Periscope, and then we're going to talk about tomorrow night's matchup, the NFL kickoff season, between the Carolina Panthers and the Denver Broncos. And we're going to analyze that matchup between the Carolina Panthers offense and Denver's defense. We're going to analyze key losses, key additions, things like that. When we return from commercial break here on the Coach's Corner podcast, brought to you by iHeartRadio and CodyRourke18.com. So, Periscope, while we're on commercial break right now, we're on commercial break. Thank God. Hallelujah. I want to use this time, okay? Ask questions, okay? This is something I'm totally trying. I've never done this before. I've never broadcasted a video feed of the Coach's Corner podcast live. So we're doing it now. So I really want to hear you guys' feedback. I want you guys to ask questions. If you want me to talk about something, you mention it here. I'll talk about it on air, and then here in the next hour or so, it'll be uploaded, and guess what? You can hear it, okay? And if you want to be on the show, let me know, and we'll get you on next week, okay? But we got a lot of different things we got to accomplish, all right? So I'm very excited. This is a new thing. This is a new attempt for me. Video broadcasting the show live. When I usually record the show, I pre-record the show with a live feed where viewers can call in and give me contact me, talk to me about sports, things like